Good afternoon, everyone. And now I'll be speaking about the techniques. Can we have my presentation out? I'll be talking about the technique that we perform in our clinic, and I'll be diving into all the technical details of it. So, like Matt has already discussed, the technique that we perform, which is ultrasound guided dry needling, it's usually a treatment that all our patients receive. They receive it once or twice weekly, and it's kind of a follow up treatment that we do after all the interventions that we perform. This technique is continuously improvised and it's patient to patient basis that we decide what muscles need to be treated, how many sessions need to be performed. So, yeah. Okay. So, let's go ahead. By definition, what is dry needling? Dry needling is a specific treatment which is usually used for musculocutaneous pains and musculoskeletal pains, where a dry needle is inserted blindly into these muscles and into the myofascial trigger point. But we broaden this when we talk about ultrasound guided dry needling, which is performed in our clinic. We do not limit ourselves to just the musculoskeletal pains. We believe and we know that body functions as a whole, there is always interrelated functioning, and that's why we cannot limit ourselves only to the palpable trigger points, but we need to cater to all the multitude of microscopic trigger points that are present. So how do we do this, and where do we put these needles? Like you can see here, there are many needles put in each patient. These are put around 2 to 3 centimeters apart. We target all the muscle layers in the affected areas. Also, we target the muscles not just in the affected area, but the agonists, the antagonists, the synergists, and the fixators of those muscles. How do we do this? We do this using these needles, which are fine acupuncture needles, and these are the thinnest available in the market. They are 30 to 34 gauge in size, 13 millimeters to 120 millimeters in length. So depending upon the areas that we are targeting and the muscle build of the patient, we choose the length and the size of the needles. These needles come, like you can appreciate. Yeah, can you play that video? In that video, you would appreciate how these needles come with a external plastic sheath. Yes. So it's an external plastic sheet that comes with the needle. You tap firmly on it and ensure that it traverses the few first millimeters of the skin and the subcute. This makes the procedure very comfortable for the patient. And that firm tap is very important. Can we go to the next line, please? Yes. Video again. That video shows needling of the tendons. So even tendons can be targeted while doing dry needling. And since it is like a condensation of all the muscle fibers, it becomes much more effective than muscle needling. At the same time, it could be a little more painful. So once we put the needles in, we leave them for 25 to 30 minutes. Why? Particularly this time period, it's because we've done serial studies of the muscle on the ultrasound after the needles are put inside, and we have observed that these muscle reaction, the muscle shimmering, the microscopic twitches that go on, they all go on for next 20 to 25 minutes, after which the relaxation sets in. So this is an optimal time to leave the needles inside, which will give effective and optimal results after every session. Of course, looking at these needles, I'm sure it looks very uncomfortable. So to make it a little more comfortable for the patient, we do a lot of things. We pre-medicate them with some painkillers a few hours prior to the session. We apply prilocaine gel. We do what is called as ultrasound and TENS modalities for physiotherapy. A very important thing is the position that the patient assumes. It has to be very comfortable for the patient, since the patient will have to maintain it for almost an hour. After putting the needles in, they cannot move at all. Once we remove the needles, we ice pack, and we also do some amount of manual therapy. This reduces the inflammation that would set in because of the needling. How often do they come for sessions? Usually twice a week. There's a gap of 2 to 3 days between the two sessions, and each session would last around 2 hours. Minimum 10 to 12 sessions are needed for most pain conditions to resolve and the functionality to be restored. In this video, you can see how again that firm tap, and then the muscle, the biceps femoris muscle is traversed. Going more medially, we enter the semimembranosus, the semitendinosus. Here it's the dry needling of the calf, where the needle is inserted into the gastrocnemius soleus, the tibialis posterior, and then the tibialis anterior. Please note these needles are very thin, and it's quite difficult to appreciate them in the ultrasound. But with practice, we managed to do that. And for each needle, you would see that it goes through multiple layers, multiple muscles, and each muscle requires multiple needles. So, coming to the technique of Botox injection, usually it comes in 100 units or 50 unit vial according to the brands, and we dilute it in such a way that each ml contains 10 units. And before going on for the procedure, we have pre-decided doses for each muscle that has to be targeted. We usually stick to them, but there are a few changes that we do on table. So this is a video where we are injecting Botox. So usually go into the depth of the muscle, and then while withdrawing, we inject the dosage of the drug which is pre-decided into the muscle, more into the muscle belly. Coming to the few cases that I would like to discuss. Post-laminectomy syndrome. So this is a patient, 42-year-old lady who presented to us with severe burning over the areas which are marked there. And the pain score was around 8 to 9 out of 10. She had undergone a laminotomy around 6 months before she presented to us. And after that, she had worsened in her symptoms. There was inability to walk, squat, sit cross-legged. This was her MRI. You can appreciate at L4-5 level, there is severe inflammation and a lot of motor changes around in the vertebral end plates, and the thecal sac is pushed to one side. So the MRI report suggested there were chances of infective spondylodiscitis. Keeping that in mind, we decided we do not want to put any kind of steroid into the epidural space which might flare up any infection which is there. We treated her only with ultrasound guided dry needling. Of course, she came for around 15 to 20 sessions, which would be over a period of around 3 months, and gradually improved after every session. We did dry needling of her back of legs, thighs, calf, and also the skull. These are the results. This is the initial movement at the spine at presentation, and you can see how she improved and how her movements were restored at the end of the treatment. Sitting cross-legged on the floor was one activity which she had to do because of the kind of lifestyle that she had and the kind of daily course that she had to cater to. So this is what she accomplished at the end. She could even walk comfortably and briskly and was much more confident at the end of treatment. When we started her treatment, we can look at the MRI. Here you can see that the inflammatory changes settled down, the modic changes have also improved, so there was objective evidence of improvement as well. These are the pictures of the muscles above the scar area, so the normal muscle, and you can see that it is hypoechoic and there is intact vascular pattern. This compared to her muscles at the beginning of treatment, there was lot of hyperechogenicity and there was disorganized muscle fibers, which you can appreciate on the right. We sent up a serial studies by a trained musculoskeletal ultrasonologist, and this is what he reported. At the end of treatment, as compared to the previous examination, there was better recruitment of muscle fibers and fascicles in the paraspinal muscles at the skull. So we can say that there was actually regeneration of muscle fibers after the dry needling treatment. Coming to the next case of post-herpetic neuralgia, this was a 27-year-old neurosurgeon who came to us with severe pain in these areas marked here. And this pain was there for the last 5 years. He was doing his residency. It was very difficult for him to do his residency duties, and he was actually suicidal when he came to us. These were his muscles. Comparing the affected side and the normal side at presentation, you can see that there were changes like hyperechogenicity, taut bands, atrophy of muscle. The muscle thickness on the opposite side was better than the affected side. Going by the principle of neuromyalgia, like already described by ma'am, we targeted all the muscles, all the nerves which supply the myotomal distribution of the affected area, and did pulse radio frequency of them for 10 minutes at 42 degrees. These were the nerves that we targeted: the suprascapular, lateral pectoral, medial pectoral, musculocutaneous nerves, axillary, dorsal scapular nerve. At the same time, we did Botox injections into all the muscles in the affected area. Since he was traveling to us and was with us for a very little time, we wanted to do the best for him. So we targeted the muscles at the same time and divided 100 units of Botox into these muscles. This is how we tried to target as many muscles as possible with that dose. Then he followed up with a couple of sessions of dry needling into those muscles of neck and the chest as well as the shoulder. When he followed up 1.5 months later, there was complete resolution of pain over the thorax and the arm. The remnant pain over the shoulder was then targeted with a smaller dose of Botox, which was around 60 units. 2.5 months later, pain had completely resolved. And recently, we had a telephonic conversation with him. He has finished his residency, he's got married, and he's recently joined some further fellowship programs, and he's completely pain free. So to conclude, I would like to say that this technique that we perform at our clinic is an ongoing research and it is always improvising and there are no rules. It's patient to patient, but there's just one rule that it always works.